Today's episode of Socially Democratic is presented to you by Dunn Street. Over the past 12 months, Dunn Street has partnered with organisations across Australia and the globe to train leaders, develop engagement strategies and empower people to organise for change. And in 2020, Dunn Street will continue to work with folks who want to make a difference, inspire hope and build communities from the ground up. So to find out how you can partner with Dunn Street, hit us up at dunnstreet.com.au. Hello and welcome to another episode of Socially Democratic. My name is Stephen Donnelly, and today's episode is recorded in conjunction with Australian Labor International. Last week, Dunn Street partnered with ALI and returned to the Maldives to run a series of campaign and organising workshops with candidates and members of the Maldives Labor and Social Democratic Party, or the MLSDP. And while we're over there, we sat down literally on the beach with Mauroof Zakir, who's the Secretary of the Tourism Employees Association of the Maldives, also known as TEAM, which is the Tourism Workers Union, and he's also the spokesperson for the Labor Party. We spoke about the foundations of the union movement in the Maldives and how that led to the creation of the Labor Party a couple of years back. In today's episode, we also spoke with a young, inspiring woman by the name of Nash Waheed, who is an organiser for the Tourism Workers Union and is also on the executive of the Labor Party. And it was great to hear from Nash about what it's like growing up in the Maldives and what drew her into both political and workplace activism. So a bit of a special podcast where we've got two people on talking a bit about what they're doing in their amazing country. Shout out to Trudy and Seb from ALP NatSec for organising the return mission to the Maldives. And also a special mention to my travel and training buddy Irene from the Labour movement up in Queensland. Irene is a wealth of experience both as a trainer and as a leader from the union movement. And it was great to share this amazing mission with her to the Maldives. So thanks, Irene. In terms of other episodes coming up, we will have another US Democratic podcast next week with Sam Schneidman following Tuesday's primaries in Ohio, Florida, Arizona and Illinois. So we'll be breaking down those results and what that means for the next round of primaries and if there will be next round of primaries. And also as we start to turn our attention to the general, it'll be fascinating to see, following on from those results next Tuesday or Wednesday, Melbourne time or Australian East Coast time, will Bernie continue? So I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. In other news, well done to the Northern Territory Labor Party for winning the Johnston by-election earlier this month. And also congrats to the Labor candidate Joel Bowden. AFL fans will know him as a former footy player for the Richmond Football Club. Congratulations to Joel on his election and joining the Gunner Labor government team in the Northern Territory Parliament. This was always going to be a tight contest for Labor. Dunn Street was actually up there not long ago, just before Christmas, doing some training with some of their activists. And in the 3 months leading up to Election Day, the Community Action Network up in the Northern Territory recruited, trained and mobilised over 70 volunteers, which probably doesn't sound a lot to people down south, but that's actually quite a lot of people in the Northern Territory, particularly with the population of Darwin and the size of their electorates. And they made over 4,000 calls and knocked on over 4,000 doors in the lead up to Election Day. And actually on Election Day, they knocked and called over 1,500 voters. Which is an amazing effort because in the end they hung on to the seat by only 166 votes. This was a incredibly tight margin. And when these margins are so tight, this is what we call a field win, because without those conversations on the doors and on the phones with highly persuadable, highly undecided voters, this is what you need to do to win in these tight contests. So well done to the team up there, well done to the field organiser, well done to the candidate, well done to the volunteers and volunteer leaders of the Community Action Network. Very, very proud of your efforts and fantastic to maintain a Labor presence in the seat of Johnston, and this bodes very well for Michael Gunner and his team as they get ready for their election the territory election in later this year, in August this year. So props to you guys. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and Stitcher. And if you're an Apple Podcast user, don't forget to leave us a rating and give us a review. And for all the updates about the Socially Democratic podcast and everything else that's going on, both the US primaries and things that Dunn Street are up to, just follow us on our various Dunn Street socials on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and LinkedIn. Okay, let's get to today's podcast. Okay, we're taping this one on a Wednesday, I think, but I must admit I've never recorded a podcast on the beach, so there's a first for everything. And the reason why we're doing that is I'm speaking to the General Secretary of the Tourism Employees Association of the Maldives, or otherwise known as TEAM, or the Tourism Workers Union of the Maldives, and the spokesperson for the Maldives Labor Party. Mauroof, welcome to Socially Democratic.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to be to participate in this podcast, and it's also a great pleasure for us, for Maldivian workers, to share something on behalf of the workers.
Yeah. Well, we, as I said in the intro, we're on your home island of Kendu.
Yes.
And we're sitting beside the beach. I will never ever do a better podcast than this one right now, I can tell you. But for the listeners back home in Australia and around the world who have never been to the Maldives before, I wonder if you can just sort of set the scene for what is the country of the Maldives? Because most people from outside of this beautiful island paradise would think of the resorts and all of those beautiful photos. But there's more to the Maldives than that. And I wonder if, Mauroof, you could just sort of talk to us a bit about the Maldives that you know. And this is your home island.
Yeah, Maldives is actually, as you mentioned, an island nation. Across over the Indian Oceans, we have like 1,200 islands across the country, across the Indian Oceans. And we have islands are very much scattered, and many, around 200 islands are populated, inhabited islands. Out of that, we have like 150 resorts, tourist resorts. It's a luxury tourist resorts. It's very much well known as one resort, one island concept. So, if you visit to Maldives, you may not see the real life of Maldives. You may see only those luxury, niche, beautiful beaches and sand, crystal clear lagoons and all those resorts, Yeah. But we have 187 islands where these inhabitants live with very limited facilities, I can say so. Also, we have our capital island where very much centralized all the health facilities, education, everything is congested there. So people are forced to migrate to Malé, this capital island. So there are many social and economical problems faced to the locals, especially for the workers and for the working class. This is paradise for the resort, for the tourists, but this is no longer paradise for the local people, the local Maldivians. We have a long way to go. We have, especially to get our equal share from this big chunk of profit they're making from tourism. Yeah.
So the concept of a liberal democracy is a reasonably new concept to the Maldives. You changed your constitution in 2008.
Yeah.
Talk us through that kind of change that happened and what's transpired since then.
Yeah, actually Maldives was ruled by a dictatorship for over 30 years in single party kind of authoritarian regime. And then 2008, with the pressure of international and also from internal within the Maldives, they were forced to set up multi-party democracy. So they allowed to establish, form political parties. But the political parties was also first registered in kind of association under the Association Act, where trade unions also registered in same Association Act even today.
Yeah.
But later on they make a political party act. So since then we got the pressure from internal and outside, then it was forced back then to make a new constitution. So then we got the new constitution in 2008. The constitution basically is one of the good constitution, I can say so, in Asia region. Many fundamental rights are being covered under the Bill of Rights Act, Bill of Rights from the Constitution. So, from that Constitution, people get freedom of speech, freedom of strike, freedom of associations, and all these basic fundamental rights. And then we had our first multi-party election, democratic election on 2008. And then one of the opposition party at that time, the prominent party, MDP, got elected. And then after, in 2012, again, it was outset by police mutiny. And it was kind of coup, and then people were again started to struggling to get those fundamental rights that they got from the Constitution. Many changes to the law. The judiciary was there was diverse views on judiciary. It was not independent, very much corrupted, fully controlled by the capitalist. You know, this is as I mentioned earlier that this is like multi-million-dollar tourist industry, tourism. Best economy we have, so it's very much capitalist. The entire wealth and everything is controlled by a handful of people and their families. So things are difficult, but we see that there's some changes because of social media, and people are more into international community. People are outspoken, and then these changes, we see that people come out the roads and start striking. Yeah. Also, we as a tourism employees, we started our union back in 2008. Yeah, in one of the resort where we are working. The reason why we actually, forced us to create that union or the association, because when the government passed first ever Employment Act, that act is very much focused on public service, just to get some vote from the public service before the election of 2008. But then this act was passed, the bill was passed by excluding all private sector workers' rights. You know, the private sector workers and the tourism workers does not entitle their leaves, medical leaves, maternity leaves, their overtime, all basic rights are being excluded. That's the reason why we started our association. Yep. And we group of workers from few resorts gathered, and then we decided to run a petition. Yep. And we were able to make 10,000 plus signatures within the tourism industry in 100 days' time. Yep. And then we submitted that petition to the parliament and the president and also all relevant authorities. And then we said we need to change the law. We need to change the Employment Act, and you need to amend before the election. Yep. But the former president said he promised us that he's going to amend the law after the election. But we said, come on, we cannot trust you, and we call for an industrial strike. So 64 resorts out of 80 resorts, workers agreed to go for a strike before the election. So we called for industrial strike on October 5th. The election date was on October 8th. So then the president again called us, and then he said he will have a special seating on the parliament while parliament was on recess. Right. Yeah, and then they had a special seating on the parliament, and they just gave to a law the act to us and said, whatever you want, just put it in the bill. There you go. We were just very young at that time, and then we were not very much aware of trade union rights and all those things. Yeah. And there was no history of trade union in the Maldives, so we just included whatever we thought, like service charge, overtime, maternity and paternity leaves, and all these things we included in the law. Yeah. So that is the reason why the workers in the private sector of the Maldives are enjoying those rights, because of our struggle we fought at that time.
The tourism, just give the viewers at home a sense of how big the tourism industry is for the Maldives, and therefore how many people actually work in these luxury resorts. And if you've ever been to these luxury resorts, I think like the average nightly rate for some of the let's call it the basic luxury resorts is like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a night. This is incredibly wealthy people coming and staying here. Talk to us about the minimum, the wages that you guys get, the conditions that you guys were getting way back in 2008?
What was the challenge for last 10 years, I can say so, is the wages which when we started at 2008 this work, the wages remains at $200, $250 or sometimes $100 for the cheap migrant workers.
Yep.
We have the huge issue of migrant workers. Migrant workers are marginalized here in the Maldives.
Yep.
We have full of half of the population is more than half of the populations. We have migrant workers working in the Maldives. So
Yep.
as a result, the tourism industry is also, the majority workforce is filled with cheap migrant workers from Bangladesh, India, you name it, many Asian countries. Mm-hmm. And let's say we have around 50,000 workers working directly in the tourism industry in the resorts. Out of that, around 20,000 are locals and nearly 30,000 are migrant cheap laborers from different countries in South Asia, especially Bangladesh, India, Nepal and Sri Lanka. Also Philippines, we have a lot of workers nowadays. So the wage remains from the human resource development is very weak in the Maldives. You can imagine tourism was started in 1972 here. Now we have reached in that area number one in the world. Maldives tourism is number one in the world. We have the most expensive, most luxurious, most stunning resorts in the world. But the human resource, the workers' rights remains unchanged as same as when it begins.
Yeah.
So that's the reason we that's also one of the reasons that we need to raise workers' rights. We need to form unions. We need to empower the working class. We need to change this politically. We need to empower the workers economically and socially. Yeah. So that's the reason why we have started fighting for minimum wage. We had a petition again in 2015 and submitted to the previous government requesting, demanding them to set a minimum wage of $600 for a minimum wage for the tourism workers. Also, we have demanded to change the quota to increase the locals in the industry because our entire economy is depending on tourism. Now, all other industries like fisheries and agriculture, which we have small portion of the economy, but those industries also are now very much attached to the tourism because of huge growth and diverse of the tourism industry. But it's really risky because you can see even today, because of this corona thing, coronavirus, and it's outspread all over the world, and we don't know what happened, if these things happen in Maldives, if we found some cases in Maldives, our industry will definitely affect it. Even today, we see some declining and cancellation of bookings according to the authorities. Over 12 to 14,000 booking has been already cancelled because of this. Many flights have been cancelled. So, country is very fragile. However, governments don't think to diverse this economy into different kind of industries. It's really risky. But the third thing is the money is not actually staying in the country. The wealth does not distribute it equally to the people. Yeah. It's going outside. More than 70 resorts are multinational hotel chains in the Maldives.
Like sort of Hilton and Hyatt.
Hilton, Sheraton. Yeah. All these multinational Marriott, they are violating workers' rights here in the Maldives, but the money is not staying here. They're taking all our, the beauty, they're selling the beauty, the beaches, the sea, the sun, but that's the sad thing. The money doesn't stay here, and it's very small amount of money is being actually distributed to the people of the Maldives.
Yep, you've had some moments in the early days of forming a union. And for it's important to remember that there wasn't unions pre-2008. This is a very new thing, but you got arrested.
Yeah.
There must have been a great deal of fear amongst the people, the tourism workers, who you were seeking to organise at that time. Tell us about how you overcome challenges like getting locked up.
Yeah, those issues still remain really fresh because we were being arrested on 2008 and terminated, and we have lost our job because of forming the unions. And it was in 2008. You can see in 2014 we have some of our union leaders being sacked because of peaceful assembly. So 2008 we got the constitution with the right of peaceful assembly is a fundamental right. In 2014 workers being fired and arrested just because of peaceful assembly. So this is how the things are moving. And our cases, which I just mentioned, terminated in 2008, 2009, 2011, the union leaders who fought to begin this union movement, those cases are still remaining in the judicial system, in the court system. 11 years, 10 years, unresolved, Many times Supreme Court has ruled to reinstate and back wages. However, these court orders are not being enforced because of this, big influence of these capitalists and resort owners in the system.
Because your judiciary isn't an independent judiciary. It's effectively when there's a new government appointed, they can put their people onto the judiciary. Is that right? Is that right?
Yeah, every new government comes, whenever they got parliament majority, they just change the entire judiciary. Recently also we see that, we can't say that judiciary is very independent because the Judicial Service Commission, which is the commission who has the responsibility of oversight in the judiciary, but the commission is kind of controlled by the ruling government, whoever rules it. So then the judiciary cannot be that independent. They always have to, they get influences. There are many stories. The judges have been bribed, and they have taken money, and many cases. It's very common stories in the Maldives. People don't trust.
No, and the other problem is the level of corruption in the political process as well. I didn't actually realise until this trip that the political parties can take foreign donations.
Yeah.
And so all the major political parties and excluding obviously the Labor Party are all centre-right parties and all are bankrolled by either property developers, the tourism sector or foreign entities. How do you navigate a political system that is already stacked against working people?
Yeah, that's the biggest fear that we have. All the political parties other than Labour Party is fully funded by these big businesses, as you mentioned, the resort owners. The resort owners are paying to all the political parties, whoever in the ruling party, they are in that party.
Yeah.
They are in support of. And the other thing is some of the biggest tourism tycoons, they have their own political party, So they are third or fourth leading parties in the Maldives, they run their own political party. And every time, because of the system we have here, none of the political party can win any election without the support of these tycoons, these political parties. So they always have kind of controlled, I think there was a huge and very well-known cases of corruption here recently during last government in the Maldives. There was some Al Jazeera investigation also done on those corruptions, $1.2 billion involved corruptions. Around 53 islands were sold in underground deals. Money, the Maldives monetary was actually embezzled.
Yeah.
And a lot of money laundering was happened during last regime. So the corruption is, you can see from International Corruption Index, Maldives was quite high. So these things still cannot be addressed because of weak legal system, as you mentioned. Foreign parties can fund political system, and there is no like working class movement, grassroots funding. These kind of things are very unfamiliar here. That's the reason why the Labour Party is really struggling to get fund from, because people don't trust the system. So whenever even our members feel that the political system and the parties are corrupted, so they cannot raise the fund. It's difficult. However, we are running. Proudly I can say that Labour Party is running only with the fund and the dues we get from our members and from the union supports till today. Yeah.
So what was the catalyst for the leadership within unions like Team to form the Labor Party, which only formed late 2000 18 or around that time. What drove the leadership to say we need to start our own political party?
During the course of our these last couple of years of experience in this union movement, we have been traveled many parts of the world to participate on labor conferences, union trainings. We found that each and every country, they have a political party who supports the trade unions, whether it's Labour Party, Social Democrat Party, or one of the left-wing political party, always there to support the labor trade union movements, which we don't have here in the Maldives. We have been fighting for this for quite some time, like 10 years in the trade union movement. We were unable to change most of the laws. The policies were not being changed. Things are getting bad to worst in terms of workers' rights. So we thought that that's we really need to form a political movement to change this. But the difficult thing is always there is the risk of how can we run the political party, how can we get fund for the running a political party, because the current legislation of the Maldives actually only the election political party act says that any party who has over 10,000 members only will get a support from the government budget. So it's only 2-3 political party has that much amount of members in their party. So it's also a clear indication it does not really support the multi-party democracy. The party really in needs are the young parties, the small parties. Yeah. But there's no setup for those political parties to get some funding.
That's a beautiful backdrop there, call to prayer right now. Talk us through, you ran candidates at the last national elections.
Yeah.
What were some of the successes that came out of it? What were the obvious challenges that came out of it? I just want to get a sense of that, and then think about what were the key learnings as you get ready for local government elections, which are happening later next month.
Yeah, the party was registered just 2019 January.
Yeah.
And the general election was on April. Yeah. So we were just at the time of changing a new government, and politically there was 7 years of very difficult struggle with the people. So we have contested on 10 seats. However, we did not able to win any of those seats. Something we learned from that was just running to any seat is not enough. We need to find caliber and good candidates and focusing on possible areas, especially people really who has the ideas and ideology of social democracy. Not just anyone can promote these things if they don't have real belief in social democracy. So that's something we found that. But we have seen some of the candidates we have endorsed during that election have won. And we also get in support from those candidates in terms of submitting petitions and amendments and our proposals to the parliament.
So myself came over to the Maldives 12 months ago with Australian Labour International, and we're back here again this week to work with you guys on some training and working with your leadership, your party leadership. How important is external support to either the union movement here in the Maldives and also the Labour Party in developing your power and your ability to organise to head towards these goals of, getting people elected, improving the wages and conditions of your membership? How important is this external support for you guys?
I think it's really, really important for us, especially based on our experience when we formed the trade unions, the team, our organisation, back on 2009 and 8. We got some solidarity support from IUF and some of the international trade union movements. That was the reason actually we were able to survive till now. till we get these, to get our members to organize some of the hotels. So for the political party also, we believe it is new thing for us. Maldivian people are not joining or not belonging to any political party just by believing any ideology, just because very much they are following the political leaders. Whoever the leader says, they goes behind those leaders. So especially to build an ideological based political system, we need to have experience. We need to get experience from the international community, especially a political party like Australian Labor Party, who has a lot of tremendous experience on social democracy and labor movement. So we are really glad and to work with Australian Labor Party. Also, the support we get is we really appreciated, and I don't think there's any other political party in the Maldives other than ruling MDP that have any other international affiliation with any kind of political system, any party. So it's a good thing and a good achievement, and also the working people and the working class really accept that the support. It's one of the biggest advantage or opportunity for us to grow and to sell also in our campaign and in our promotional materials. Yeah.
I want to pick up on that point you said before, that historically the political party system here in the Maldives is very much based on personality and sort of transactional politics and less on ideological divides like left and right, even though the MDP may define themselves as a centre-right party. A lot of the things they say sometimes sounds centre-left, but then their actions are clearly centre-right.
Yeah.
But the way that they engage with the electorate, it seems that people vote for them just because they know someone, or there's a fear of not voting for them, or they're just perceived as the dominant political party. How confident are you of introducing this idea of we're the Labor Party, and we're the Labor Party because these are our values? Because you're new, you don't have those established links. How are you going to overcome that particular challenge?
First thing is we believe that this movement, the Social Democratic Labour Party movement, is not a sprint. We believe this is a marathon. So we are ready to take the challenge. We know it will take time, because at the beginning for the other political parties to set up and to get these changes, it took decades. So for us, it's nothing. It's not a big an issue for us to work and to continue this this struggle to change this the way how people believes, the way how working class believes, and to convince the working population, because Maldives is a vast. The majority of voters are working population. So we are very much confident. It will take time, but we will remain solid, and we will remain and consistently. We will try to promote our values, and one other thing is we will try not to do any mistakes. We will stick with the principles on what we believe and the values. We will not compromise those things. So I think if we continue the work like that, we will definitely be able to achieve our targets and overcome the challenges ahead.
Mauroof, we, on behalf of myself personally and Australian Labour International, we want to extend our thanks to you, your trade union, and also all of the members and the executive of the Labor Party for welcoming us to your beautiful country, and indeed your own home island of Kendu, with open arms. We love coming here and doing training and partnering with you guys, and we want to wish you the absolute best of success, not just for the upcoming elections in April, but in this ongoing journey, this marathon, to represent and improve the livelihood of all of the people of Maldives. So best of luck.
Thank you so much. It's our great pleasure, to work with Australian Labor Party, and also getting this opportunity is actually remarkable for us, for a small party like this, and really appreciate it. And on behalf of our party and the union movement, really thank you. And also the trainings and techniques and supports we get is really, really effective and supportive. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Okay, we are doing the second part of our Maldives podcast, and I am joined by a very inspiring young woman who is one of the organisers for the Tourist Workers Union, and she's also on the executive of the Maldives Labour and Social Democratic Party. Nashma, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to participate in this program.
Not a problem. Tell me about how you got involved in working for the union, and how did you get involved in being a member of the Labour Party?
Well, actually, it's a kind of long story.
We've got plenty of time.
Yeah. I studied law, actually, and I got a job in a company where I did legal works and administrative works. And while I was working in there, one of colleague of mine in the company, who is also part of the member of the Labour Party.
Yep.
And he told me that there are so many ongoing cases of employment tribunal, and this would be a great opportunity for you to join the union and plus the Labour Party. So I thought about that, and I finally agreed to join the union.
Yep.
And after coming back to the team, and I worked there, and I work as an organizer, and plus I handle right now I'm handling the cases of employment tribunal, and also while I was working there, they offered me to join the Labour Party.
Yep.
So since they are fighting for labor rights, I thought, and I'm really interested in labor laws and rights. That's why I agreed to enter to participate in the leadership committee of the Labour Party.
Yep.
That's how actually I entered into the politics.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me a bit about your background. So you didn't grow up in the main capital island of Malé. You grew up somewhere else. Is that right?
Yes.
So tell us about where did you grow up? Actually,
I was in my island. I completed primary level in my island. That's Gaftal Tinato.
Yep.
And after completion of primary level of education, I came back to Malé for higher education.
Yep.
And from here, I completed O level and also my degrees, diplomas, and everything.
Yep. Why did you want to do a law degree, and is it easy for young people to go to university here in the Maldives?
Yes, it is easy, but actually I think there is no career guidance. Because of that, mostly students don't know what to select, what to select for their career.
Yeah.
Mostly the teaching, law, and nursing, these are the fields, mostly the common fields that are here.
Yeah.
And if they want to, to study any other kind of field, any other field, they are not getting that opportunity from here.
Yeah.
And they used to go abroad, and they used to get education from that. And also some of people can go, others cannot, and they have to stay here and study the same that law or whatever the courses available here.
Yeah.
So that's why it's kind of challenge that facing for youngs now. They are not getting actually the proper career guidance, and like they are not getting the proper course from here.
Okay. So growing up as a young person in the Maldives, you talked about, there's not very good career guidance for young people about what they want to do.
I think education system has to set up some standards or some kind of system, in order to youths to for this. I mean, for youngers.
What would you like to see? How would you like, if you were in government, what would you do to provide more opportunities for young people?
I think if the courses are not available here, we can actually talk to the government and authority and those who are actually handling all those areas. We can talk, we can discuss about that, and we discuss with the students who are actually to get the ideas. What are the fields that they are interested on? So they can gather the information, and they can make the list of the fields. What are the main careers actually they focusing on? So based on that, they can provide the courses in here so that they don't have to spend so much money to go abroad. And if they have to go abroad, they can provide loans to them. Now also they are providing, but few are getting those. So we have to increase that even also. If not, we have to provide those courses and educated people here to deliver the knowledge and education to us.
Do you think that young people in the Maldives have a voice in the political or democratic system here?
Yes, some of them have and some of them not. We are expecting in our future that more young people will talk about the important things in our system or our government. So they actually, people are, there are changes. I mean, young people are talk about the main things about the system, but also there are some others still, but few are delivering the message to the government or the authorities, and most people don't.
Yeah. Do you think that young people are happy with their lives in the Maldives? Are they happy with their opportunities? Because so many people have to come to Malé to get work. Do they want to do that? Would they rather stay on their own community islands?
Actually, I don't think, because even to get education, we have to come here, to come Malé. I think if we get the proper education from the island, we would be staying here. So we won't be here, right? So if we get the opportunities, job opportunities from the island, we will stay there. We won't come here. So I think we are not completely happy. The youths or the youngs are not completely happy with that because of these kinds of situations.
You're an island of, a nation of many, many, many islands, and you're definitely, it's fair to say, you're definitely at risk with the problems around global warming and climate change and rising sea levels. If it's going to impact anyone, it's certainly going to impact the people that live in this beautiful tropical paradise. Is, for young people, is the environment as an issue? Is it in the forefront of your minds? Like, it's so inspiring to see, like Greta Thunberg, the young student in Sweden, mobilise thousands of people around the world to take action.
Yeah.
What kind of conversation is happening with young people here about the environment?
Actually, all we know that climate change is real, and it's affecting to our Maldives. But very few people are actually willing to take the responsibilities to to make a change. Others are not. So everyone are actually busy with their daily lives, and they're just snoozing the actual threat, and they're just living on. I'm sure that government, even they talk about, but actually they haven't taken much action to this immediate threat.
Is there an opportunity for young people to get organised around this issue? Do you think young people would be inspired enough to put pressure on the government to get them to do more in this area of addressing climate change? And what could they do? What would you, if you were the government, what would you do initially to try and help protect the environment in this area?
I think we'll have discussion about that. We will arrange the programs and events, awareness programs, and through social media and through the events, and we'll deliver the message to the government even so that including the current situation of the Maldives. I know they already know, but actually it's good that if we give much more importance to make change of this situation.
You're a young woman who's involved in politics.
Okay.
I want to know, in Australia, for women who want to get involved in politics or in public life or in commerce, there are so many barriers that they have to overcome, and I don't think as a man I even see half of them. Tell me, are there barriers? There must be. What are those barriers that exist for you as a woman to participate in politics here in the Maldives?
Actually, very few women are here actively participating in this politics.
Yeah.
Maybe because they are shy, or they are actually parents don't give permission to them to participate in the politics. I don't know exactly what may be the reason, but there are people, the parents, they won't actually agree to make their child to involve in the politics. So I'd say very few women are actually in this, but we are seeing the change. The most of the political parties now, there are some of the women's, and also in this local council election, most of the women, half are the women. So we are now seeing the changes, right? So we are expecting to see better change in the future.
Okay, excellent. And do you think, was it easy for you to get involved in politics? Did you have to overcome any challenges yourself, or did you ask your parents for permission to join the Labor Party?
Honestly, I was really shy before, but my parents and also the leadership committee, members of the committee, Labor Party, and unions of the team, they actually encouraged me because they also convinced me there are few members of women in the politics area, so it's a good opportunity to come along with us and to participate in this politics. So I thought about that, and I finalized that actually that this would be a great opportunity and to go on getting involved. Yeah.
Who are your heroes? Who do you look up to? Who inspires you to do great things?
Actually, I would say my parents. Even if they are uneducated, they actually, from their experience, they used to encourage us to study, to involve in the social matters, and so I'd say my parents are the heroes.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And my last question,
Yeah.
when will you run for public office? Will you ever put your hand up and say that I'm going to represent my community on behalf of the Labor Party? Is that something you're thinking about doing one day?
I haven't thought about that yet.
That's a very diplomatic answer.
Yeah, right now very recently I have joined the Labour Party and the politics. So right at the moment I'm focusing on developing the Labour Party. So maybe in future I will.
You won't rule it out.
Maybe.
That was a very good political answer. You're going to make an excellent politician because you didn't answer my question. Nash, I thank you very much for coming on the podcast today. I think that you're an inspiring young social democrat. And if the Labor Party here in the Maldives have as many people such as you, then the future is very, very bright for the social democratic movement here in the Maldives. And we wish you and the rest of your team the best of success for the very future.
Thank you very much. Thank you for giving this opportunity.